Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon. If you don't know me, I've been rank 1 in Wild Rift and a 5-role Sovereign on 5 different accounts, all solo queue. And today we're going to be talking about the most OP top jungle combo and showing you 2 games of Renekton Nidalee. So Renekton Nidalee is an absolutely OP duo, and the reason for that is a couple of main things. So the first thing is, Renekton has a point and click stun for Nidalee's spear. Nidalee has one of the most insane burst damages of any champion, but it's obviously a lot harder to land her spear compared to a lot of other burst damage abilities from assassins. And so she really likes having point and click champions, which if you look here, we have a Twisted Fate, Leona, and a Renekton, a lot of CC, which is very good in terms of setup for her. Additionally, Nidalee and Renekton are both extremely strong early game and really rely on snowballing, so they allow each other to snowball, which obviously is really good in general because they both kind of want to do the same thing. And then lastly, they have different damage types. So Renekton's AD, Nidalee is AP, so you can't just buy mercs or buy armor boots and all of a sudden be fine. You're still going to be getting melted by someone. So now we're going to talk about how to play this strategy. So the first thing is you already have to be doing what you saw me doing right here, which is basically, again, slowly building up a wave and taking, good trades in order to do that. So you see here, I'm trading around the Nasus pretty hard, playing around my level advantage here, for example, with the Q, so I can get my W and then W him as he walks up. You want to be looking for these types of more heavy trades. Have your jungler in most situations path towards you. He doesn't have to path towards you every game, as you'll see in the second game, but very often you do want to have your duo path towards you because it's going to allow you to stack a big wave and then dive on important timers. I played, I think, about 4 or 5 games of Renekton Nidalee with this jungler last night. He's super good at Nidalee, and pretty much every single game we are solo killing, or not solo killing, well, we're turret diving or 2v2 killing every time I'm hitting level 5, sometimes before level 5. Like, anytime that he's here, it's just pretty much insane. So basically all you're trying to do is find these really big trades like you see me doing here and build up a really big slow push. So as I've talked about in my wave management guide, as well as my advanced kind of wave management video, you're literally just doing the basic slow push that we always talk about, and then here I'm just trying to get as much of an XP lead as possible, so he has a really hard time actually doing anything. That's why we continue to get these trades off. And then here you see we're matched. So when you're matched by the enemy jungler, you're looking to kind of get them to come into you because you are a lot higher level and stronger, as you see here. And so we're basically just trying to get as much poke off even under the tower as possible, because we know that we're just going to be a lot stronger in these skirmishes. And because of that, we're able to get that Hecarim initially. And then we have the ult, of course, to finish off the Nasus as well with the Nidalee. So this is just a very common thing. You're building up these slow pushes into these laners, then you're finding these types of dive angles and getting these either, turret dives, 1v2, or the 2v2 kills. And again, just literally happening nearly every game that we play this combo. And then, the later and later on in the game you go, so obviously these champions both do fall off, especially Renekton, to some degree. And so you're having to kind of keep up the lead, which you can do in a few different ways, kind of depending on, the situation you're in. But generally speaking, as Renekton, you're doing one of two things. You're either going to side lane really hard and just maintain that gold lead that you have so that you always have some point of pressure. Like, you're going to see this game is going to be quite difficult. Our team is going to do quite bad apart from me and Nidalee. And when those types of things are happening, you're really trying to maintain as much side lane pressure as possible, because this is not the strongest team fight combo if you don't find an initial pick. This is a skirmishing and early game snowballing combo. So you find these 2v2s, these 3v3s, these small little fights, within team fights themselves, where you can just blow up a member with the Nidalee Renekton combo. And then, throughout the rest of the game, you're just trying to get as strong as possible on side lane. You're not, constantly making plays. You're making those couple plays around your lane, which allow your Nidalee to snowball, because now, my Nidalee gets quite a big lead, and I have my big lead, and then you're just continuing to try to push that as far as possible. So Nidalee can spread that lead to mid, as in, here, for example, they got the kill on Hecarim and continued to, snowball. And then as the Renekton, you're just building up another slow push, so that your jungler has an opportunity to gank you. Again, you want that Nidalee to have an opportunity to re-gank you. There is a different game I'd had where he ganks me, then after we kill, we have him re-dive. And you're going to see us kind of fail that actually in the second game, but we'll talk more about that when that happens, of course. But once again, you see me just building up a slow push, trying to time it the best I can with my jungler, so my jungler can get some type of dive off with me as well. So we give him another chance to dive. We waste the Nasus ult, obviously, and then we get him, decently low, so that we have the opportunity to look for some type of dive. So again, just building up these slow pushes over and over again so that even if the enemy jungler matches, I'm level 8 to Nasus level 6, and Nasus has no ult. Obviously here we are backing off because mid is missing. We could straight up 2v2 this, probably Loki under tower, but mid is missing, and so obviously you have to be aware of, you know, mid gap, for example. Like the enemy mid was absolutely destroying our Twisted Fate, and so we're kind of waiting until now mid is showing. I'm trying to make sure jungle's not here, so we wait a little bit, and then we go in. Turns out the jungle is still here, but once again, we're totally fine with these 2v2s because we're just way, way stronger early game than almost any top jungle 2v2, and definitely stronger than a Nasus early game. And so we're able to literally create a really good turret dive here. And then again, we're just both level 8 to Hecarim level 7. We do way too much damage, and the Hecarim also dies. So we're able to get 2 kills, again, under turret, like literally under the enemy turret, because I'm laning well enough to stack up these waves and then have a health lead, have a level lead, have, you know, cooldown lead, all of these things. And then my jungler is doing a super good job of following up and playing mechanically super well because he's, again, a really, really good Nidalee player. And through that, we're able to just get an insane early lead where I'm up like probably 1,500 gold at this point. I'm up 1,800 gold, and my jungler is up 1,500. So we're up 3,000 gold as a duo already at this point in the game. And again, this is not like a one-time thing. Like I said, I'm going to show you another game. This was happening every game. Even the, like, I think we went 5-1. He wasn't only playing Nidalee. I think 4 of the games were Nidalee. We went like 3-1 in the Nidalee Renekton games. The only game we lost, I think I had like a 2,000 or 3,000 gold lead and got first turret before first objective. And, you know, the team was not the best in that game. So even in the game that we lost, we're just like snowballing the heck out of these lanes. And now you can just see I trade insanely with Nasus. He instantly ults. And pretty much, you know, throughout this point now, we're just playing for our side lane lead, and we let Nidalee do what Nidalee thinks is best. Like in this case, Nidalee, you know, he likes dragons a lot. Like this player in general, he goes for dragon a lot. I'm not the biggest fan of going for dragon. You know, I would say you should go for definitely Herald a bit more than this guy does. I don't know him. I just have him added. I honestly don't even know how I had this Nidalee added, but he's really good. But either way, he goes for dragons a lot and kind of snowballs, you know, the lead a lot of times that I give him to other parts of the map. Another way to play it is, you know, playing a lot more around your top and playing for like the Herald and using that to snowball. And you can really go about it either way. It kind of depends. But when you do, you know, spread your lead elsewhere, it's more likely that you have the potential to lose that lead, you know, if your bot lane are bad. But it's also giving you the potential to obviously spread that lead and get your dual lane strong so the entire map is strong, which can be especially good because Renekton doesn't do as well with a lot of gold. He does well with a lot of gold, but he doesn't like scale insanely well. And so, you know, he is a rather self-sufficient champion, Renekton, and so the Nidalee really is free to do whatever they want. And that's kind of like the gist of this is it's all about the setup for Nidalee. Like you're giving Nidalee the opportunity to set up the ganks with you, to snowball, and then you're just maintaining your side lane lead as the Nidalee continues to just, again, accelerate the game. So obviously this requires players to be pretty good, right? Like obviously you need, you know, a good jungle and top, but it's a very straightforward combo at the end of the day, you know? Literally just point and click, you know, Renekton stun and have Nidalee spirit, and like you do that, that's already really good gank setup. Again, the more complicated part comes with the stacking the waves properly as the Renekton, and then how you spread your lead properly. You know, Nidalee playing the team fights really well. Like this Nidalee again is very, very good. If you're not as good at Nidalee, you're going to struggle more in the team fights. These are going to be the harder parts of the game for you as a Nidalee, which is where the Renekton combo and team fights can still be really, really useful, obviously. And then I'm asking him if he wants to go for tier 2 here, but he ends up going bot, and then my mid laner rotates bot. So because everyone's rotating bot, I know I can go mid and drop Herald mid. I'm just looking to see where I can drop Herald because obviously we soloed the Herald here because we saw everyone fighting. And we knew that I could completely solo the Herald because nobody else on the enemy team was really contesting, and obviously Nasus can't contest me. So here again, we just continue to spread our lead a bit further towards the mid, and this is what I mean by playing around bot when the bot aren't really the ones who are stronger. These are where the issues can come in. But again, it's kind of a game-by-game basis. If you think you can make plays around your bot lane, spreading the lead to bot lane really, really good. But some situations, you're not going to feel like you can really do that. And so here we do end up finding the pick because I'm very, very fed. And then I end up flashing onto the Ahri as well because they've used a lot of their cooldowns. And we're able to get 1,000 gold worth of kills. And that's just trading that for my life. So I get really, really strong at this point. I have Sterak second because they don't have great anti-shield builders for the most part. And so I wanted to have as much, you know, side lane pressure and damage as possible. Whereas why the Blade of the Rune King plus Sterak's, it allows me to actually kill this Nasus, and you can see the 3k gold lead on Nasus. I'm wanting to continue to further and further my own lead on the side lane because I know team fights are a bit hard here. Again, into this type of comp on the enemy team, I'm definitely wanting that side lane pressure and to spread that side lane lead, or to maintain that side lane lead rather, instead of spreading it to other people again. So definitely that's the hardest part of this lane. It's not going to be the early game. If you understand these basic concepts in the early game, you're going to get a lead. But then once you get that lead, like we had multiple games where we won, and like as you're going to see here, for example, but we won because, again, we had some clutch plays in team fights later after maintaining this lead on side lane. We didn't just it wasn't just smooth sailing. It was, our teammates, even though we get a lead, they often throw or make these silly kind of mistakes. And so when that's happening, again, you have to be very smart about how you're playing on the side lane, when you're going side lane, when you're not. In this case, I go top here. Honestly, I could have just stayed bot, but I do end up hovering here instead. And again, Nidalee is just absolutely smurfing, and he's so fed. He does so much damage. And then at this point, now we can just kind of push mid out. And team fights are not super bad for me. Again, I can go to the team fight, certainly. If it looks good, I just want to make sure I have the side lanes pushed out first before I actually go to any of them. So definitely make sure you've pushed out your side lanes almost always with this combo before you are fighting, because this combo really likes fighting in team fights when people are coming into you. So you want prio and bot, prio and mid, prio top, prio wherever you can get it close to the objective. So obviously if you're going for the top side objective, bot prio is not as important. But as a Renekton, you still kind of want to value it because you might want to side lane and whatnot. But again, the point is, you need to use that prio to get into the fight first, because the enemy walking into you, and then walking into your point and click stun, into a Nidalee spear, and Nidalee can just sit there and keep poking as well with spears. That's how you're winning these team fights. That's how you're going to carry these later, fights, which normally will be hard, again, with this type of combo. So it's a combo that, again, requires that decent execution. It's a thing you see pretty often in Chinese pro play in League of Legends, is the Nidalee Renekton combo, because they're very aggressive and snowballing, and something you might see a little less in Korea, but they still play it. I mean, obviously it's a very good combo on PC. And then yeah, again, we have some really bad teammates. Leona, I don't know what she's doing. I don't really know what she was doing throughout the game. And so this is where obviously, again, you see kind of the issue here, and I'm just okay, I just need to push bot out initially. A lot of people here would just go and hover Baron, but for me, one, losing the Baron doesn't lose us the game. If we do lose it, it's not the end of the world. And then again, we're just going to be going into suicide without our Leona there. So instead, I push bot out so that I can hopefully draw someone to me, or that I can late, TP there, with the thingy, whatever you call it, the gate thing. But basically, we're just again, playing it really patient, making sure we push out the bot. And that's even why I buy a Hullbreaker third here. Again, I had a lot of Hullbreaker third games, because it just felt really good in these situations where I needed the side lane so much. And then here, this is where, if I click my Gargoyle right away when I TP here, it would be a really good situation. Because basically I'm just trying to get there and before Nasus pinched them with my team, or pincer them with my team, and then we'll be fine. Unfortunately, I get blown up right before I'm able to Gargoyle. And the team keeps hitting Baron. I mean, if they don't hit Baron also, I think it's a really good, situation for us. Regardless, you're going to see somehow they clutch up the fight. And so my team actually oddly wins the fight where I'm doing basically nothing compared to the fights where we actually were useful. But even just that, initial force of a lot of cooldowns from the enemy, I guess, is enough. But yeah, like I said, I definitely think they should have just followed up over Baron. I think it's going to be good regardless. I should have clicked Gargoyle right away, though, so that I have that additional tankiness. But regardless, it worked out, a little messy. But again, we had that side lane pushed out before we actually TP in there, which isn't really the difference maker there, but it's just, it gives us access to that TP thing in their own, jungle. Whereas if I didn't have the prio there, I wouldn't be able to TP there. And again, despite the play, causing me to die right away, oddly works out. Nidalee clutches up the smite. Again, the Nidalee's absolutely smurfing. Definitely helps when you have someone playing as well as him. And that was, again, pretty much the gist of a lot of these games. You do have to have, a good duo. You can't just, do it with, a random Nidalee who sucks, right? But a lot of these games, it's just, we give the Nidalee the early lead, and the Nidalee does a really good job continuing to push it, and we just maintain side lane pressure. This is essentially the gist of it. You don't have to do this, with Nidalee Renekton. Obviously, you can do it with any champions who have good gank setup, plus a good early game top laner. So you could do Renekton Vi, Renekton Lee Sin. You could do... trying to think of early game Baron laners that would be good with it as well. I mean, Aatrox would be decent. I feel a little weaker early. And you can see, by the way, look at this one shot. He even missed a spear and we still one shot. Unfortunately, I dashed the wrong way and then I die. So not the best, but you can see the one shot literally under turret at 14 minutes in the game. But yeah, I mean, you could do it with like, you know, Aatrox. There's probably some early game champs I'm not really thinking of right now, you know, I'm sure. But early game champion with good gank setup plus strong snowballing jungler. Lee Sin, Vi, Jarvan, you know, any of these champions. The more bursty junglers like Lee Sin and Nidalee, they like having that gank setup more, whereas champions like Vi or Jarvan, they don't need the gank setup as much. So you can play a strong early game top laner that doesn't have as much gank setup, like a Fiora, for example. So you just kind of want that gank setup somewhere. And again, the nice thing is that these are AP and AD, right? So top jungle being opposite damage types definitely helps you out as well there. And there's not a lot of early game like AP junglers, you know, a lot more early game junglers are AD. So that's where, like, again, if you're playing Lee Sin Renekton, they buy the armor boots on you, it's tougher. It's still really good early game, but you're going to get outscaled as well. Because again, usually you're going to be the fed people on your team, as you see even in this game, you know, we have the most gold. They can't itemize against both of us, which then means that if someone, you know, itemizes to not get one-shot by Nidalee, I can still one-shot them. Because I have a very damage-focused build here, because I only really can get through a Nasus with a bunch of damage, so I, you know, don't go for a tanky build. I went for a Heartsteel in a different game against Nasus, because the enemy was full AD, and I was just trying to scale. In that game also we won, but that's like, again, a different concept, right, is understanding which to, you know, what to build and win. And that game was less about snowballing and more about scaling, because again, the Heartsteel, I'm actually strangely outscaling a Nasus in that game as a Renekton because of the Heartsteel build plus full AD, so I have Frozen Heart third and all of that. But again, it just depends on the game and understanding how to change your build up with Renekton. You know, we made a video on that. It's very, very important. And then at this point, each team has a dragon, so I don't really care that much about this this dragon. I'm mostly trying to make sure someone didn't catch me. Ahri was missing, which is why I kind of backed up. I'm waiting for Ahri to show. And I know that they know this dragon doesn't matter. The enemy mid laner is a very good player, and their jungler is also a sovereign peak player. And so I know, like, they're aware, like, this dragon doesn't actually really matter. And so I'm basically waiting until they show, and then now I go top. And my teammates, again, they, for whatever reason, fight after the dragon. All they had to do was not do dragon, and we're in a really, really good spot because I have side pressure. Instead, my team does fight, and so we end up, again, just pushing out the top side, playing for that side lane pressure, because we know, like, the team fight is not how we're going to win this game. Maintaining side lane pressure, getting a potential inhib, that's how we're going to actually win the game. My Nidalee survives here, which is very, very good. And now, again, the goal after this inhib is just to stop the Baron. The enemy are pretty low health, so they can't do Baron off spawn. They're going to have to reset and then do it afterwards. And so essentially all I'm looking for here is a way to stall until my teammates respawn. Again, the Nidalee Renekton, you're going to see point and click stun, burst someone down. That's how you can win these types of fights. So you're going to see that here. In terms of target priority, I know I can't really one-shot the Hecarim, so we go onto the Ahri, and we literally one-shot the Ahri without the Nidalee, and then we just kite back with our Nidalee, who's poking the enemy out nicely here so that they can't actually do anything. Like, you see Kai'Sa's half HP, Hecarim is half HP, and we're literally 2v5, or like 2v4 more so, in that fight, and we're able to get one kill and get out because, again, that Sterak's makes me super, super tanky, and I am completely, you know, just one-shotting everyone with how much damage I have in this build. So Ahri is not really able to do anything, and now I can just sit here in zone over the wall, looking for the Hecarim, and my Nidalee can burst down the Baron. Nami walks forward, and she's just instantly dead there. Really nothing she can do about it. And we get the Baron now. And despite this game being, again, this is a really hard game. 2 good players in the enemy team. You know, 3 pretty bad players in the enemy team as well, to be honest. But 2 really good players in the enemy team. And the you know, the rest of our team is playing quite poorly as well. So basically, like, 6 players playing really bad and 4 players playing good, and we're able to carry, you know, throughout this game into and obviously I say bad and good, but like, this is challenge, like, high challenger. I think I'm like 90 marks at this point, so obviously it's all relative. That's besides the point, though. The point is you're able to see us carry very, very hard. We each have over 16k gold at this point in the game, which is, like, obviously, you know, 4 item plus, so we're able to be extremely, extremely strong in these fights. And basically at this point we just want to push out the side lanes patiently with the Baron. Hullbreaker obviously helps a lot for the Baron. Nidalee, again, just one-shotting everyone in sight because, you know, Nidalee does that. Champion's kind of crazy when you're good at it. And yeah, the Hullbreaker with Baron, I mean, it's very, very easy to just continue to snowball, you know, all of these fights and whatnot. So throughout this time, we're just able to, again, push out the bot side, make sure the enemy don't really have any ability to get Elder, and then once Hecarim shows, that's when we want to do the Elder. We don't want to obviously flip it, you know, we just want to maintain the side lane pressure so that Nidalee can basically do whatever they want for free. Again, you just see constantly, like, the real purpose of this combo is to basically make Nidalee feel as free as possible to play the game however they want. And so I'm just, again, it's simply in these team fights playing to be quite, quite tanky, make space for my teammates, and just allow my Nidalee to have a free game. Nidalee does obviously die there, but, they have to blow so much for Nidalee that at this point we're just able to run them down. And I'm able to melt through the Nasus because, again, this Nasus was quite bad. Like, I love playing, I don't play Nasus, but Nasus into Renekton is very, very good for Nasus. But he's not playing very well, and so we're able to actually get a good lead here. We're able to flash onto the Kai'Sa, and I believe we end up killing her in the end. We do, and then that's where we end the game. So that's kind of the first game. Wanted to explain how this combo works, and we're going to show you a second game just to kind of reiterate, some of the main points and show you how it works in another game. Okay, so now we're going to go into an Aatrox matchup. So again, if you guys like me showing multiple games in videos when I have like a certain combo or something, let me know. If you prefer the shorter, just one game, let me know if you prefer that as well. Obviously, my streams always have a lot of these games when I'm kind of spamming a certain combo. But so here again, we're into Renekton, and we're into Aatrox. I'm Renekton. But this time, my jungler passed away from me, which again, this is the only game I do it with this guy where he did not path towards me. And that's because it's Twitch and Yuumi. Obviously, he wants to shut down Twitch Yuumi early game because they're pretty weak early. And the Aatrox is not the easiest champion to gank. So when you have this type of situation, it's more about getting small leads and just having, again, that prio, like being self-sufficient. So here I'm just playing around level 2. Again, you saw both games. I end up getting this level 2 trick onto Aatrox and onto Nasus, which allows me to win both of these trades, which is, again, get the minions low. Like you're going to see here, I get every minion low enough that it can be queued. And then I make sure that there's a minion low enough that he wants to walk up for it. And when he wants to walk up for it, you see here, just queue everything, and then he loses the trade because he wants to walk up for the minions. So you can always either deny the enemy one minion as Renekton or get that W trade. And if they don't walk up for the W trade, you take E level 2. So don't take W level 2 every time. You take W level 2 when you're able to get that trick off. But most of the time, you're going to be obviously taking E. And so then here again, we're just able to get some decent trading on the Renekton, or onto the Aatrox. I keep calling him Renekton. But we don't do anything crazy. Again, waiting for his cooldown, just punishing a last hit or two, and making sure we have a bit of a lead, but nothing crazy. Because that's all you're really looking for in these types of matchups when your jungler is especially not pathing towards you as much. And that's, again, the thing, like, Renekton is a very self-sufficient champion. You don't have to play towards him as the Nidalee, but you're going to be able to. And again, you'll see, we'll have different angles to set up. So all I'm doing is I'm just taking advantageous trades for me. Whereas if I'm, again, having my jungler path towards me, I can take sometimes disadvantageous trades to bait a gank, for example. But in this situation, again, you see Nidalee doing really well on the other side of the map. Meanwhile, all I did, again, we just crashed the wave and we reset. I don't have my jungler here, but because I had the big lane lead and I crashed a wave, I deny a couple minions to Aatrox, and Aatrox recalls before he gets boots. So now I come back with a boots advantage for the time when my jungler is going to gank me. Because he's going to be pathing towards me within the next 30 seconds now that he's clearing his top side. I'm a little later because he was obviously doing that gank there. And so now, again, we have this advantage. So it's about, as the Renekton, you build up that advantage in some way. And then Nidalee has the freedom to really play the game however they want. And whenever a Nidalee does come to the Renekton, you should be expecting a lane lead, Renekton has very few matchups that early game he loses. A lot of the hard Renekton matchups are more that he gets outscaled. But a majority of early game Renekton matchups, you should be having the lead. So again, that's really the kind of crucial part of this duo is you have to trust that your Renekton's going to lane well, and you have to trust that your Nidalee going to make good pathing plays and going to use the snowballing, use the lead to snowball really effectively. And so again, just taking a little bit of a trade, maintaining prio here, having the ability to pretty much do whatever we want in this lane matchup. And then this is when Nidalee finally comes to us, because again, the Nidalee is kind of, again, making plays elsewhere, and now their camps are spawning bot, and so this is when we're looking to see if something can happen. In this case, the enemy jungler is already quite far behind, and so again, we know that if we do have one of these 2v2s, again, like you can see, it's not like, I'm just getting jungle attention and the enemy are just like not there. It's like, no, like Nidalee Amumu or Nidalee Renekton will just shit on anyone. So you just see Amumu is literally ran at by the Nidalee. I barely even do damage. I just ignited at the end. And then again, we're able to continue this fight because even though now 3 people are here and we only had 2 for a majority of this situation, we so easily killed that Amumu that we're just able to completely snowball this skirmish. And so you see, this is all it's about. Winning these early skirmishes because you have the lane lead. I'm just way stronger than Renekton early. Level 5 Renekton is one of the strongest level 5s in the entire game, if not the strongest level 5 in the game. Insane skirmish power. And again, because we had that item lead, the boots to no boots, we're also just stronger than the Aatrox because we're building up those small leads. So you want to just be building up those small leads as the Renekton so that the Nidalee, again, is just able to win these skirmishes. And those are the types of things that a lot of times you don't see if you just see, like, oh, you know, when Nidalee is snowballing and whatnot. Like, this is how you allow them to snowball. This is how you allow your early game champions to really be able to make a lot of these plays, is through these types of wave management things to set up nicely for your jungler. And then again, the jungler plays absolutely insane in a lot of these fights and does a really, really good job of snowballing further throughout it. And then again, this type, I think I make kind of a dumb mistake. You're going to see, like, we try to overforce a turret dive. And so there's also that thing is like, yeah, like here. So again, something you can do is you can re-dive. Like if you're winning these trades, you know, like now at this point, I'm level 8 to level 7. Nidalee's pathing here, and we know, like, we're just like a lot stronger. And sometimes when you do this, you know, you kind of get a bit greedy on the dive, and I think that's what happens here, or maybe it's the dive after. No, I think this dive is fine. Yeah, this dive should be an easy kill. Yeah. So you see, that's the stun plus the spear under turret, completely free. This is what I'm talking about. You'll see in a second. But the spear, you know, after the stun, you can literally one-shot people under turret, like you saw. We just build up that lead, that health lead and whatever. This is where it becomes greedy. So I don't have ult and I don't have flash, and then I waste my W on turret. If I didn't waste my W, it's actually fine here. But here I W the turret and then I don't have my stun. So I troll this by not having my stun up here. Normally what you can do is, say you dive someone like we dove this Aatrox, you can re-dive after if you know enemy jungler is not contesting and the enemy jungler is dead. So we know that we can just re-dive and he's completely screwed, but I don't have my W. And so he doesn't die, and then I die. And this is where the mistake comes. Again, you can see I completely int that, just stupid by me, because of wasting that W. But you can see that is still what you're allowed to do. You can have these re-dive angles, and again, we did this in a different game into a Yone, and the Yone went down, I think, like 2,800 gold or something to me early, something like that. And these are the types of leads you can create. Now, we're still up a bunch of gold. You know, it's not really a big deal that that mistake happened. I'm still up 1,700, and so is my Nidalee. So we're still up 3,400 as a duo, even with that silly mistake at the end. At the end of the lane phase. So you saw the first lane phase, I think we were up about 3,000 as a duo, and this time we're up over 3,000 as a duo as well. So it's a very consistent kind of lead that we're generating with our combo. Again, like literally every game, I think pretty much we're up like 2,000-3,000 gold minimum. Very rarely anything less than that. And it's nothing too complicated. Like you see, I'm taking very basic trades, building up a slow push, look for a dive, repeat. You know, like it's just a very, very straightforward kind of thing. Again, the mechanics of it obviously can be a bit difficult, but you know, especially from the Nidalee side, like obviously Nidalee is a much harder champion than Renekton. Renekton's got that point and click, and just as long as you're trading and laning well, you know, that's really all that's kind of going to matter. I was thinking about watching from his perspective as well at some point. You know, maybe in the future, if I do it with him, I'll like show a game from his perspective. Like I would just go into the replay and whatever. You know, if you guys want me to kind of, like when I'm doing with people, sometimes show their perspective and talk over their gameplay, let me know. That could be kind of an interesting additional thing to do. I feel like here, honestly, the more involved part is Renekton. Like the jungle, the way you play Nidalee is the way you would play jungle later on in the game, like as any jungler. The important part is understanding how to set it up early as Renekton. If you know how to set up these early plays as Renekton, then you're going to be in a good spot to snowball. And then from there, it becomes more just like a straightforward, you know, normal game. The first 6 minutes is where it's involved, where you set up the certain things, and, you know, the jungler just kind of has to follow up and path, you know, normally. And then past 6 minutes, the jungler is pretty much just playing like a normal jungler. And then the Renekton, again, we said you're either going to side lane to maintain that lead, or if you think the team fights look really, you know, promising, then you're going to be stunning a target for Nidalee in team fights. And so you see both of these games aren't super team fight focused, because, again, that's not the main purpose of this combo. But when you are in the team fights, definitely make sure you're finding those key targets to CC for the Nidalee to kind of blow up in fights. So even here, you know, I just instantly flash onto the Aatrox and just look for the stun, trying to get Nidalee, you know, some level of setup. And then we're just able to win the fight for there. You know, probably could have just targeted Mumu right away, but, you know, it doesn't really matter. Works out pretty well. But again, you're just looking for those flash stuns on fights. Like pretty much every fight, it's either, you know, E stun or flash stun. Get someone stunned, that person should be blown up. And then from there, again, just another easy skirmish where we've already developed a big lead. And at this point, I am already 2 items at 8 minutes. So I'm like, you know, probably about 8,000 gold at this point. Yeah, I'm 8,200 gold in 8.5 minutes. So I'm, yeah, like 950-ish gold per minute. You know, probably even a little higher. And so this much gold per minute, again, on a top laner. And then my jungler is 8,500. So like we're literally both nearly 1,000 gold per minute. in the same game. You could just see again, like this is a much more snowbally game than the previous one, and it's more us making some silly mistakes later on in the game that makes it at all scary. But yeah, again, we just maintain this side lane pressure. I think I get a little greedy here, to be honest, but we are, able to get him pretty low. Yeah, this is where I was kind of getting greedy. And then I think I die here. But again, like even if you die on these side lane, like the only way I can die on side lane is a 1v2. And even in these 1v2s, I'm very nearly able to kill, as you can see. Like both of them get quite low, and we're able to bring them obviously towards our teammates. And so like you just have this side lane pressure, even if you make dumb mistakes. Like again, I did not play this game. I got pretty cocky. Frankly, we were winning every game so easily. I'm just like, yeah, like we're just gonna win regardless. And we kind of do. But you can see like even in this game where I make a couple dumb cocky plays, I still have like a 3,000 gold lead on Aatrox, and I'm able to nearly 1v2 people on side lane. And even that pressure that we drew on side lane ends up leading to 4 kills for our team at the end here. I think the Twitch dies. Yeah, so like even these situations, like you just have so much side lane pressure, it's almost always beneficial, even when you are making those mistakes, just because of how strong you can get from the early game. And so this combo is definitely really, really fun. I know we've kind of been, glazing it a lot, to speak, like a, middle schooler and say glaze. But now at this point, again, we just push out the side lane, bots pushed out, mids pushed out, and so I'm just going top, just making sure, again, you always want these side lanes pushed out with this combo so that you're able to really easily approach fights. And then again, I'm just trying to get gold from wherever I can. So like when I can take the Krugs, that's my goal. Again, you see a lot of these games, I don't actually have that much kill participation, like the early game we're making the plays, and then later on it's literally just be annoying to people everywhere. Take the random Krugs from the, from the Amumu. Make the Twisted Fate use his ult to try to catch me out on side lane, bait out these different cooldowns, and then in the fights, again, my team is just way stronger than them, and I'm still able to be, quite tanky in terms of frontlining these fights, and we're able to pretty easily get a lot of these objectives. So, like, that's really the general approach. Like, you don't have to fight every fight as Renekton. You go to the key team fights that look winning, you just play to pretty simply zone people off, take out their key cooldowns, and you're Nidalee again. If the player is playing well, like, they're going to have a lot of games where they're going to carry quite hard because of that lead on a champion like Nidalee that's just so good at snowballing. So definitely, again, like a pretty simple strategy, at the end of the day, and it's something you can do with a lot of champs. But Renekton Nidalee, definitely like the most kind of classic sort of combo that does this in the top jungle. If you guys are wondering like kind of what roles, and you see again, I'm just pressuring top as my team does Baron. This is kind of the constant sort of thing you're seeing, and I think I'm looking for the TP thing, and I realize it's not here yet. But if you're wondering kind of what the best combos are, I would definitely say like playing duo support, playing mid jungle, playing top jungle, and playing support duo, or support jungle rather. Those are kind of the 4 sort of duo combos I would recommend. I think I listed all of them. But yeah, basically what I've been doing, the last couple days that I've been playing duo, I find a duo in whatever role they're playing. I just, I play whatever works with them. So if they're ADC, I play support. If they're support, I play ADC. If they're jungle, I play mid. If they're, or maybe top, something like here, I'm top, obviously. And if they're mid or top, then I'll play jungle. Like, it's pretty much that's just how it goes for the most part. I don't know what Brand was doing there. You got to respect the Brand, that is a respectable int there. The Brand was running it down, actually. I didn't realize until later on in the game, but we're up so much gold that I felt like, everyone was just smurfing, but the Brand was like, he was super, super far down. And so again, you just see Nidalee continuing to snowball throughout the map as we maintain side lane pressure, very often playing away from the Nidalee. So it's kind of funny. We talk about, the combo being so strong, and yet you see me playing away from the Nidalee so often. But again, that's just because of the fact that you can help her snowball so much. Like even there, we got the stun, which allows her to land the charm or the, not the charm, the spear onto the Twitch, and the Twitch literally gets blown up instantly there. These are the types of plays you're making, getting these small skirmish fights. You're not team fighting 5v5 at objectives all the time. Obviously, sometimes you're going to have to do that, but not looking for a lot of those. You're looking for these types of plays. And then, yeah, I think we get cocky at some point here and we die, but we get a lot of the inhibs, a lot of the turrets, obviously, and we're able to, again, have a pretty insanely large gold lead at this point. Yeah, everything's pretty straightforward. I think we reset here. I think we get cocky a bit later. Maybe it's after we get Baron. We'll kind of skip through because, at this point we're kind of just snowballing. My team gets more kills on the other side of the map. And, yeah, basically pretty straightforward. Yeah, my Nidalee ended up dying and Rakan died. So is kind of where we get a bit greedy. I try to flash stun him, but he stuns me, which made me very sad. But nonetheless, I think my Zeri kills the Twisted Fate, and then yeah, I think this is definitely where we get greedy here. We try to kill a Mumu here because he is really, really weak, but he has his stun, and then I just like chase like an idiot, you know, into their Nexus, and then there's no wave here, and I just walk into the turret and I die. So, you know, this combo, it allows you to randomly die to turrets twice in one game, is basically the gist of what you can see from my gameplay here. But obviously very dumb death by me. I believe the enemy do Baron. I actually don't remember. Yeah, they end up doing Baron, but then, you know, the Nidalee kind of clutches up and steals it. Honestly, even if the enemy got Baron, I am pretty confident we would have won this game. I don't actually think it mattered, but obviously Nidalee stealing Baron makes it so there's no way to throw. But definitely dumb by me, like I said. That is actually like a good thing kind of to see, because in this combo, if you ever let up the pressure and you make these dumb mistakes, you can very easily throw a game. So be aware of the fact that Renekton and Nidalee, they fall off later on in the game. And so if you do make a lot of these dumb mistakes, especially in closer games, you're going to throw games with it. And so don't be, you know, super cocky, you know, like dumb Talon here, you know, just being greedy for no reason on the Renekton. Definitely be a little bit more patient, be more aware of these types of things so you don't throw these random games, because that is going to be the biggest trouble you're going to have if you do play a lot of this combo, is that you're going to start throwing games if you don't have good macro or you just get a bit cocky. But nonetheless, my Nidalee clutches up again. This Nidalee was absolutely smurfing. I have no idea how to pronounce their name. I think it's Vietnamese. You'll see it on the end screen here. But shout out to him. He was very, very good. And at this point, we're 93 marks now. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce that word, you know, those words. But either way, he's pretty much MVPing all the games, carrying. He has like a 74% win rate on Nidalee this season with like 80-something games. Like, this guy is just insane at Nidalee. And so obviously, you're probably not going to get to do it with a Nidalee as insane as the Nidalee I do it with. And I'm aware of that. And of course, duo queue creates, you know, this where if you're a good player who has good friends, you're going to be able to climb easier. I'm aware of that. I've obviously proven that you can climb in solo queue by doing it to rank 1 and to 5-role Sovereign. So at this point, I think it's kind of fun to play some duo queue combos with some better players. You know, you get to watch a bit of higher level of gameplay. Even if this game, you know, the games themselves here were relatively low level players. I mean, they're challenger players, but I consider them low level because I'm, you know, I have a big ego, whatever. But again, you see the good duo queue combo, you know, high level kind of gameplay, stacking those waves, diving, and doing a good job overall. So basically just wanted to show you guys these two games of this combo. I hope it was useful to you guys. I hope that maybe you're able to try it out. Let me know what you think of it if you do, and I will see you guys in the next video.